Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of Astra Season offense matches. The Fallen unit's second bonus week synced up with the Water Season, which meant it was another great opportunity for Dimitri and Lilith to partner up and take on the world. As usual, Dimitri's combination of true damage, dodge, and special acceleration make him an excellent tank, and Panic Smoke rounds out Atrocity nicely by letting him punish enemy teams who use visible bonuses. Having Thor available as support also lets him use a solo instead of Breath for his seal, while still having access to consistent soul counterattacks. Lilith, meanwhile, is a fantastic support partner for him. Giving Dimitri access to null follow-up and Atrocity at the same time is a significant spike to his overall power, and her bonus week stats let her soak Bright Shrines for him really consistently. The Warp effect is a great way to help navigate the map too, and being a heavy-hitting red dragon can also help Dimitri break past any particularly annoying green walls. Elamine, as usual, is an excellent support. False Start has a variety of uses for dismantling defense teams, and the extra layer of damage reduction she can offer Dimitri is a great safety net. Ashura offers him Panic Immunity to go with null follow-up, and Plumeria's Dents and Mobility support are always helpful. There was one match this week that got me to switch away from Legendary Dimitri, which gave Fallen Dimitri and his Gale Force crew a turn in the spotlight. Time's Pulse is a great way to let Dimitri get neatly into a 2-hit Gale Force range, and being able to use either Thor's Worldbreaker or Azura's Infantry Rush makes it really easy for him to activate. Byleth's in a similar spot thanks to Creator Sword, which also lets her attack most enemies safely when paired with Windsweep. Thor herself is a great initiator and Wings of Mercy beacon for the team, combining Double Fury with Flow Guard to give her an extremely safe first combat. Azura is a great way to follow through on that. Having easy access to Gale Force herself makes the team extremely flexible in its approach. Now that we've gone over the teams, let's get to the first match. This match is going to be a fun way to start things off. They are using a Catria ball, which is very vulnerable in anima seasons to Elamine, but they do have some options to work with even if they do get Elamine, thanks to this +10 Marianne, who can be very hard to handle with or without triangle attacks thanks to her weapon's damage reduction and lull and the null follow-up, and the Kagero on the other side, who's filling a very similar role thanks to the damage reduction on that first hit, and the combination of impact and null follow-up. These two are a pretty important part of their team, since they set up a Wings of Mercy chain for the Seiros and the Duma, both of whom can hit really hard if you're not expecting them to just jump in and start swinging. They also have a pre-charged Luna for their Kagero thanks to the combination of Sylvia, Seiros, and Marianne, which lets her do quite a lot of damage if she gets a chance to use it. And then they're protecting their squad with this +10 Felix, who's very impressive to see. Always like seeing another Felix in the wild. I'm not expecting Felix to have any real problems here. We should be able to get things going pretty easily. Although I will be careful here and respect the Duma's upgraded upheaval and the Catria as well. We'll just take this first turn to move into position and make sure Duma stays offline, and then move Elamine over to false start Catria for next turn. We have Lilith warp over here to make sure Dimitri has no follow-up available. And say go. Safety fence locks him out, and this doesn't actually move until you engage it, thanks to Felix being the 7th slot. And we actually ended up disabling the pre-charged Luna for Kagero thanks to false starting Marianne at the same time as Duma. So from here we'll just flip Dimitri forwards and dance Thor, then move Thor over one tile and Dimitri onto this hex trap to stay put, and open up this wall so that Catria is never going to rally. We'll also need to reposition Ashura here with Lilith just to make sure that she's soaking this Bright Shrine for us. And from there we should just be able to watch the fireworks. I think Marianne actually attacks first here, since she's going to get some damage to stick, thanks to not letting Dimitri heal too much from his first counterattack. But he outspeeds her pretty handily, since she isn't using her attack speed unity. And from there, we should just start going down the chain. Duma also gets to blunt that first hit, but it's not going to keep him alive. And Dimitri's sustaining pretty nicely at this point. Catria moves in next, but this should just heal Dimitri straight back to full health. Or near enough. Felix takes his shot because, well, the special fighter does stop us from actually using soul here. But Kagero's not getting very much done without that Luna. Even though she does get to survive the first counterattack. And then Seiros moves in to close things out. One of the very few members of their team without damage reduction or a way to prevent follow-ups. Then from here, we're just going to take advantage of some warp shenanigans to have Lilith move Dimitri over, let him pick up this Aether pot for us, and we'll just smite Plumeria in, and Denser. Let her get in behind him and out of range of Sylvia, and then say go. And Sylvia's really not going to have any chances against Dimitri. This is a fun first match. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a bit of a tamer one. They've got a fairly basic layout with a variety of threats covering the color spectrum in this Legendary Dimitri, Brave Marth, Legendary Corrin, and Legendary Byleth. Not using seals on anybody except for Zura here definitely holds the team back, and so does boxing them in. It makes it pretty easy to funnel them into one side of the map or the other, and even though the movement shenanigans from Marth and Dimitri could potentially catch people off guard, it's a bit of a stretch. This really seems like more of a budget defense than anything. The in-season legendaries do help make it a little simple to adjust from one week to another, so I'm really not expecting Dimitri to have any problems here. We should have a pretty easy time just sweeping this up. We'll get things started on the second turn after we open things up a little bit.
Close your eyes. There is but one future. Where?
And once we've done that, and we've gotten an follow-up online for Dimitri, we'll be able to let him just clean things out.
Yes.
Here we'll move Asher over and out of the way and reposition Dimitri forwards. Moving him up here actually means that Byleth can't reach him with his Sublime Heaven until after Seiros moves, and once Seiros moves, he won't have a Sublime Heaven anymore. So we'll just move Lilith over here, and refresh his follow-up for next turn. But then Sashara and get her and Elamine moving over towards the Aether pot. Azura is the 7th unit means I don't need to worry about any movement shenanigans, and Seiros, while she seems a little spooky at first, doesn't really get to do much through the damage reduction.
Don't let them retreat.
And without Sublime Heaven online, it's easy enough for us to just start going down the health chain.
We will not lose.
The whole of shutting Ritter down is honestly really nice, even if he doesn't survive the first hit here.
On my honor.
And sadly, this Dimitri is not quite going to cut it against hers.
Don't let them retreat.
And Byleth helpfully even gets Marth panicked before he moves into attack, so his weapon's almost entirely offline at this point.
We will not lose.
And then we just wrap things up with Corrin, who does not, in fact, get Renegating Fang.
We will not lose.
Oh, actually, she does. That's right. The blade effect is actually Quite useful, isn't it? And from here we should actually have a pretty easy time reaching these Aether pods and closing things out.
Why not?
We'll just move Thor up and dance, which lets her reposition Dimitri forwards. Then Lilith can jump in and break our first Aether pod.
I will go.
The mine can snag our second.
I'll comply.
We'll move Dimitri in to close out the match. This match is going to be another one on the easier side of things. They've got a boxed-in setup, which never does the defense any favors, and some of their units are not using blessings that actually match this season, which is unfortunate. This is actually a really impressive memory. I'm looking forward to seeing what the TMS units get for refines. Should be fun. They've also got a Farsave Robin backing that up. Also ascended, which is fun. I haven't seen as many Robins as I expected. She's got a very solid weapon as a preferred one, and is the first armored mage with a preferred weapon that we've gotten, so I've also got a very fun +10 Astrum on the side here, along with this out-of-season Fae and a Winter Lysithia. The Phantom Speed's a nice touch and can really help her secure the Brave hit from her weapon, even if it won't necessarily help her get a normal double if she doesn't hit that +10 check, along with a Fallen Edelgard in the corner, and a 7th unit Seiros in the other corner. This isn't really a setup that should give Dimitri any problems. We should be able to start closing things out right away. And move on from there. We'll actually just get things started on this first turn and
I'll do it.
advance Dimitri forward to start tanking the world.
Yes.
I'm not expecting him to have any issues here. He should be able to just tank his way through basically everything, especially with a false started and not able to apply her menace to him. Yep. She does move in first, since she does get the damage to stick thanks to the guard effect, but it's just not going to keep her alive. And Memori is just also not having a good time with this.
We will not lose.
Well, follow-up does a lot of work for Dimitri. And Robin moves in next, which means we don't even have to worry about the extra debuffs when Lysithia comes in to attack.
Don't let them retreat.
And while Lysithia can do a chunk of damage, before damage reduction kicks in,
Don't let them retreat.
she does not outspeed Dimitri, even with the Phantom Speed. And from here, we'll just move Dimitri in and clean up Astrum.
Fine.
The Lilith start moving in and pick up some plots for us.
There is but one future. Why not?
Advance Dimitri forwards.
I'll comply.
Let him take down Seiros in the enemy phase. And say go.
We will not lose.
And from there it should be pretty easy for us to just have Dimitri close out the match. I'll just move from here and
Close your eyes.
advance him to go get our second Aether Pod.
They
We'll
will
move
submit.
Thor up and
Speak.
let Edelgard get enemy phased. She does get to blunt the first hit, but it's
On my honor.
not doing her much good when Dimitri gets to atrocity her twice in one combat. This match should be a bit of a return to normalcy after the last couple. They've got a safe Hector, guarding their team from hit-and-run approaches, and a bit of a dance trap here with this Azura, who's able to dance the Marianne and give her a much larger threat range than she usually has, and they can help avoid any isolation shenanigans thanks to the odd recovery on this Veronica, who's also a bit of a nuisance for any tank not using Null C Disrupt, along with the Wind Sweep on Azura, since they can pretty easily sweep a lot of the common save armors, and the stat swings from Veronica in particular can really tip fights in her team's favor. They've also got Brave Erica as their melee frontliner of choice, along with a Seiros in the back, and a Mirabilis, to round out the spectrum of tactics for Veronica and Marianne and Hector. I think it's mostly for Hector, since Veronica and Marianne should both get spectrums of buffs just for when Azura dances, and the attack and speed tactics don't really do much for Erica unless she's not in range to use her menace, or gets false started. I don't think we're going to have too many issues here. We should be able to clear things up starting on the first turn, and then move forward from there. Though I will need to be a little bit careful here, since navigating around this Veronica might be a little bit tricky later on. This first turn should be pretty straightforward though. We're just going to reposition Dimitri forwards and let him open things up a bit for us. Arcing him here actually ends up baiting Azura forwards, and from there nothing else can really reach us, so I'm not sure who exactly is going to move where yet, but it'll be interesting to find out. We'll just nudge Thor into position so that we're giving him all of his bonuses.
I'll do it.
Then we'll move Asher over here, and let Plumeria jump past her to open this flag up. From here, it should either be Azura, okay, or Erica, who moves into attack first. It doesn't really matter which.
We will not lose.
Dimitri shouldn't have any problems handling both of them, especially since we did get to false start Erica, and kept Dimitri's
Don't let them retreat.
debuff free. Okay, so Mirabilis just moves in, and then Hector repositions Marianne back and lets Veronica take a shot too. From here, we're going to just keep our little choke points safe. We're going to test this heavy trap while we have a chance to, and then move Dimitri down here to take out Mirabilis, and stop her from crossing this mountain to reach her backline. Not that Mirabilis is too threatening on her own, but it's still better to get her out of the way. And then we'll move Thor over, dance Dimitri, and move him back over here to continue blocking Veronica. I don't want to actually move him up here to knock Veronica out, since it would get Hector knocked out in the same turn, and we do still need to reach these Aether pots before the end of the match.
If I must.
So we'll just reposition Asher over and break this bolt tower, and say go. Veronica's just going to attack in place again, and while it does debuff Dimitri, it also debuffs her entire team thanks to the panic smoke, which means that Seiros just is not having a good time. Even though we don't have breath support here, that attack from Veronica means that Dimitri still gets to heal from this, and get himself right back to full health. And from here we can start cleaning things up. Veronica's a very easy target now that we've already tested the heavy trap. Then we can just dance him. We'll move Elamine over,
Your orders.
have Dimitri move over as well, and reposition Plumeria to safety,
There is
and
but
start
one
moving Asher
future.
forwards to collect this Aether pot.
Where?
Dimitri shouldn't have any problems with Marianne here. Even with Unity Online, she's just not going to get much done.
We will not lose.
Now that all that's done, we can get to these Aether pots and close things out.
I am the
Repositioning Asher forwards lets her pick up our first one, and Dimitri can break our way towards the second one. After we nudge Plumeria forwards and get him danced,
Yes.
and let him intercept Hector while Lilith moves in behind to get our Aether pot before he closes it out.
We will not lose.
And down he goes. This match is going to be a really fun one. They've got a very impressive Farsev Winter Felix here. It's a build I'd actually like to try for my own at some point with Savvy Fighter and a very speed-focused kit. Together with the drives from Aether, he actually reaches an effective 72 speed here, so it can be very difficult to actually get through this damage reduction, let alone knock him out. Though I do think that without a deflect magic, he's probably pretty vulnerable to Corrin. This dagger does a lot for them though, and really helps extend their threat range to make it harder to hit and run, especially with this Ascended Joshua as the 7th unit starring in a two-pronged dance trap with Mirabilis and Azura. Setting it up like this means that he should always get danced after the first turn, assuming there's a safety fence that doesn't get hit by this catapult. And if Azura is the one who ends up dancing him, he can reach just about any tile on this map, which can really catch you off guard if you're not expecting it. They're also tying the whole thing together with a duo Crom on the side, who's always a menace, and the Aether, who, while Brutal Shell can get disabled by Elemines, still gets to hit pretty hard if he manages to land it. I think I've got a way to handle this figured out though, and while I will need to take advantage of the safety fence to do this cleanly, it shouldn't be too hard for Dimitri to pull it off.
Why not?
This first turn is just going to be used to help us clear out these structures on the side,
Your orders.
Fine.
and make sure that Thor has a safe spot to hide behind Dimitri.
There is but one future.
Since we do get to disable their first turn, there's no risk of the threat range extending suddenly, so from here we're just going to have Dimitri reposition Thor forwards and let her break the structuring for us.
Close
And
your
then advance
eyes.
Dimitri,
I
nudge
will
him
go.
over one space and have Elamine move back.
Your
Then
orders.
Dimitri is going to move all the way in here and just take down this dagger, which conveniently disables Aether's Brutal Shell for us, and sets the stage for him to sweep through most of the enemy team. Joshua should survive this thanks to his sweep effect, and Mirabilis too, since she should end up dancing him, but the rest of them should all attack into Dimitri here. So we'll
Where?
just have Lilith pull Planaria back to safety, even more safety, and say go. Joshua should move, yep, right in front of Crom to attack first. And he doesn't get to do any damage here, although he should be able to do some damage this time around, yeah. Thanks to the defense debuff on the cutting into Dimitri's defense tile benefits.
It's our
From there
chance to
though,
prevail.
it's not going to go so well for their team. No follow-up and Thor support means that he can just stain his way through all of the greens.
We will not lose.
Or moving on to Rom and Felix. Neither of whom are going to get any damage to stick.
We will not lose.
And Felix moves in and, well, that's all there is to it.
Don't let them retreat.
And then from there, Dimitri can just move over, ignore this hex trap, and finish Joshua off. And now we just need to do a little bit of finagling to make sure Mirabilis doesn't knock herself out here. So we'll start by moving Ashra forwards and
Close
dancing
your
her,
eyes. I will go.
then let Elamine nudge her upwards, and move
Yes.
her up and have her smite Dimitri over one tile, which
Where?
lets Lilith jump all the way across the map to grab her second Aether pot, and let Dimitri close out the match.
We will not lose.
That was a fun one. This match will be a fun one near the end of the week, and it's the first one that I didn't want to just throw Legendary Dimitri at. This Mia is actually quite a menace, and while I'm usually not too worried about Mias into Dimitri, this one has a very good chance of getting cleared of all of her debuffs and buffed by 6 speed, on top of having Blade Session and Lull, which let her reach up to around 79 effective speed in combat, without adding Lull in on top of that. It's really impressive, and taking Azura's weapon away means that you can't actually just bait her, so this Restore Trap is probably going to go all kinds of places if you don't have an isolation support, especially with the Aerobatics Mirabilis in the corner to help dance her even further around the map. And this Winterlight Zithia is a great backup for the Mia in case Mia runs into a really high defense wall that she can't quite break through. You've also got this plus 10 Thracier, who's really neat to see, especially outside of her bonus weeks. And the Seiros, who's able to boost her a little more thanks to Wings of Light, and altogether it's a pretty solid setup that can definitely catch people off guard when things start moving all over the map into spots you might not want them to go. I don't think it's going to slow us down too much though, and I think we should be able to get things going pretty quickly. Though I will need to take the first turn, thanks to the safety fence stopping it. It's actually the second match that we've had the catapult miss it by just 1 lane. The first turn to get into position is really helpful. We'll just let Thor reposition Dimitri forwards and move Azura up the tile. I need to be careful and make sure Ashura isn't going to buff Thor for this so that she actually gets to double Seiros instead of one-shotting her. And then we'll move Byleth out of the range of this Mia,
Why not?
and Plumeria up here, as I go. And from here we'll get things going. Spiting Thor forwards lets her move in to take down Seiros after 2 hits instead of 1. And the damage Seiros does, along with the recoil from Fury, puts her pretty neatly into Wings of Mercy range. Which means Azura can follow up and take down her newer alter ego for another easy Gale Force. And from there, we'll reposition Dimitri over and move him forward just a step,
Close your
and
eyes.
dance him, and move him forward to Gale Force off of their Veronica. Well, just Veronica. And Thor can step over, take down Mia. And Dimitri can finish boxing their Mirabilis and Thracier in by not cantoing. And Azura's not going to do anything either, since we don't want to let them out of this box.
I wonder.
We'll say go. And then from here it's a pretty slow, leisurely stroll to reach these Aether pots and close out the match.
Brilliant thought.
They will submit.
I'll
It'll take us a little longer than they'd like to get here,
By your
but
will.
their team isn't going
Yes.
anywhere.
By your
And we
will.
should be able to close things out here. We'll break this healing tower just to give us
Let's
some space to work with, and Violet will pick up our first Aether pot.
Close your
And
eyes.
we'll dance her,
Yes.
move her into Gale Force through Mirabilis. Let her pick up the second Aether pot as well,
Without question.
and have Zura close things out. It's a fun one. It's been a while since I used Gale Force. This match will be a bit of a slow one at the end of the week. It's not quite entirely walled in as a setup, but it's also not really doing their team any favors when you can funnel them all into this one choke point. The Weary Fighter for Dedu is a neat touch though, and, well, having to worry about Odor's Menace and Brutal Shell can be a problem if you don't just Elemine him, and this bonus week Gustav is someone I haven't actually seen yet. He seems like he's probably very hard to actually knock out in one round of combat. There's also a young Marth on side here with an in-season Micaiah behind him, and a Mirabilis as their Dancer and third Mythic. I'm really not expecting Dimitri to have problems here, though. I should be able to get things started pretty easily. And just wrap things up over time. I'm actually going to do that right away here, and I'm just going to smite Dimitri forwards. I don't need to worry about this panic banner since it doesn't have enough upgrades to actually hit him. And then we'll just move Lilith in behind him to support, and have L9 start working her way up towards this Aether corner. Seiros, well, with no follow-up and plenty of damage reduction to work with, Dimitri doesn't have problems with her.
On my honor.
And nothing else reaches us. Here we'll just have L9 continue working up this way, which also lets Dimitri get down here and pick up a refresher on some of his buffs.
I'll comply.
And we'll move Lilith over and make sure Asher buffs him for next turn, and wait again. We might not actually get to knock out the Didu here. He's pretty bulky. No, and it's Gustav who moves in first. And he can hit pretty hard.
It's our chance to prevent.
He's not hard enough to actually break Dimitri, and no follow-up means that he doesn't get a chance to hit again. This time we're actually going to pull a line over and just top Dimitri off. Backing up and then moving Dimitri right back into place. Shouldn't have any problems finishing Gustav off here, and we'll move forward from there. Oh, take it back. Gustav is very bulky, and we're not getting Atrocity anymore since he's below 50%. That's something I did forget about. Didu, though, just comes in and helps top us back off.
Yes.
Losing Atrocity actually really dents Dimitri, and we're going to use this as a chance to give Lilith some time to help out. She can finish Didu off for us and clear a path towards Marth.
Your orders.
Which also lets him defuse Gustav's bonfire again and also panic him ahead of the next turn.
Not lose.
And we'll just dance Lilith. Move Thorrforce to continue supporting Dimitri. L9's gonna move over here and almost open up this last pot. And Lilith can just pull Plumeria to safety.
I am the answer.
Gustav moves in and finally gets himself knocked out.
On my honor.
He was a very durable cavalry unit. Ogre, though, not so much.
We will not lose.
And then Micaiah should move in to close things out.
On my honor.
And Mirabelles can't quite reach us here, so it gives us an easy chance to pick up both of these pots and close things out. Well, mine snags one, Lilith warps in to snag the second, and
I'll comply.
we'll let Dimitri finish this off.
Don't let them retreat.
This match will be a fun way to close out the week. Our team's mostly just stuck in the corner here, and there's a bit of a wall on the left side that lets you approach them easily. But they do have this very impressive, nearly maxed out Ninja Corrin on their team as a very major threat. And backing that up with a Geo Leaf gives them a good way to punch through any damage reduction based reds that might be able to get through Corrin. Henriette's a capable Farsaver and helps protect the team from hit and run, especially combined with the trap placement they have here. That really helps discourage Gale Force attempts. They've also got 3 mythics with Leaf and Seiros and the bonus week Mirabilis, and a +10 Raisin in the corner. This match should be an interesting one just because I'm planning to actually let Dimitri tank this Corrin, which should be fun. I'm going to get things started right away. False starting Raisin is pretty useful here since it gets rid of this attack tactic and lets Dimitri take a little bit less damage than he might normally.
They will submit.
Oh, and it was a real bolt trap. I was kind of expecting this since a real bolt trap here actually makes it a lot harder to safely test these hex traps.
Why not?
So I'll just dance Thor here and have her reposition Marianne down, and smite Dimitri over, and move him into place. I don't need to worry too much about this panic matter since Ashura lets us ignore the effect, even if it does mean he'll take a little bit of extra debuffs in combat from this Mirabilis.
Fine.
Leaf moves in first here. He actually gets some damage to stick thanks to Fatal Smoke. But it shouldn't quite be enough to let Corrin finish the job. No, especially not when Mirabilis moves in first. It just gives us a little bit of extra free healing. It looks really spooky, but between Nereidbar and Elamine, it gets mitigated to a very survivable level, and Dimitri heals almost all of that right back up. And then we get to finish things off with Henriette.
We will not lose.
And from here we'll just let Dimitri take out Raisin while we make our way towards these ether pots in the corner. Lilith will move in here to give him no follow-up support for Leaf and Seiros later.
Yes.
Close your eyes.
And we'll just let our ranged units get over this way. For the following turn. Yeah, Raisin's never going to have a good time with Dimitri, so
It's our chance to prevail.
down he goes. We are going to need to take one more turn thanks to this tactic room, but that's okay, we've got plenty of time.
There is but one future.
We can just shuffle our supports around and let Dimitri finish things off. Or one at a time, at least. Leaf's the only one in range here, so he goes down first.
On my honor.
Which just leaves Seiros for us to pick up next turn,
I am
after Ashura snipes our second ether pot.
Yes.
That was a fun way to close out the week. It was a fun week overall. I didn't actually find a good spot to use Rhea this week, which was a bit unfortunate. I was hoping to give her a chance to shine in her bonus week, but it is fun to let Dimitri hit rank 1 again. He and Lilith make a really strong combination, and it's a lot of fun to see him work with null follow-up available. I am really looking forward to seeing what we have in store with the new Chaos mode for Aether raids. It sounds like it'll be a fun time, and I'm really interested to see what other details they haven't shared with us in the FEH channel. I do have a Discord channel if you'd like to hang out and chat. There's a link in the description, and I've also got a Patreon page there too if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.